When I look at the HELIX and we think about kind of modelers as they have been in my lifetime, certainly, it's really easy to forget that it hasn't always been the case that units would get considerably better over time and that we'd continue to get free updates. We're now 7 years into the life of the HELIX, I think, and there's still updates on the horizon. I think it's 3.2 are the things that we're looking forward to, right? And bits and pieces about that have been suggested online. You can speculate in the comments if you want. The Kemper has been getting, improvements for basically 11 years nearly now, which is pretty incredible. The Axe Effects is the thing that really started this, as far as I'm aware. These were the Cliff and team were the first people to kind of go, right, updates will be ongoing and free. Before that, Line 6, for example, you could buy kind of extra packs, model packs and stuff like that for your Pod XT or that sort of stuff. I think it's been basically the golden era of modelling for us as consumers. I'm not sure how long that as a model might continue, but hopefully for a while, right? Because it's nice to be able to have that situation where you buy a piece of gear and you can be relatively confident with Line 6 or Fractal or I guess even Neural DSP at the moment. Name others in the comments if you want. A Headrush have done a bit of this, where you'd be getting meaningful updates for the duration of the product, and that it's not just dropped and then you kind of left with it. So this is a thing that you could probably be fairly critical of Strymon for, right? Where although the pedals themselves are great, there's not like a continual update thing. And maybe you'd say, well, what they've already done is perfect, so you never would need to update them. But I think for me as a guitarist, given the choice between something that perpetually gets improvements, I think I'd go for that. I don't know, that might just be me. I wanted to think about, since we're 7 years into a piece of technology, necessarily it starts in my mind to start asking questions like, what's next for the Helix? Like, reasonably, any piece of tech is not expected to have a lifespan of this long, right? I know the Helix was in development from way before, so sort of like 2012, I think, is when the prototypes, 2011, probably before that even, things started to be worked on. So someone at Line 6, probably a whole bunch of people, definitely know what's next, and it's kind of fun to speculate about what that might be. For me personally, there are a few little things that I'd like to see added, things that aren't really a problem, like a Boss blues driver. That could be a really nice addition, super easy. A Nobel's ODR1, that would be a welcome addition, I think. Leave a comment below again if you'd want a blues driver or Nobel's ODR. I think those would be welcome additions, as well as maybe some more options in the Marshall vein. I think that's one area where a lot of people, and I think myself included, I can see what Fractal can do in terms of Marshalls and the selections that you've got there. I think it'd be fair to say that the Marshalls that are included in Helix, they might be transitional models, and so they might not get you where you're looking to go. If you're going for really traditional plexi tones, what's currently in there is based on, one specific plexi, which I think has had the bright caps removed. Little things like that, they're modeling based on real amps. It'd be nice in some ways to have something which is like and I guess that's also the problem with vintage amps. It's rare to find, like a totally perfect example if that's your way of modeling. But it'd be kind of nice to get, like a quintessential plexi. This is what people agree to be the plexi circuit. There's a bright cap or whatever the case may be. Smarter people than me could work that out, but I think that would make a few people happy. We've seen from Line 6's work with Ampeg. Is that on my finger? And also the Metallurgy plugins that have done new cab technology. Now you could speculate to yourself whether you think that is only going to be for Ampeg or only for Metallurgy, but that's the only thing that has not had a significant update in the Helix, apart from the looper, although we've added shuffling loopers and that sort of stuff, so that has kind of been new. The cab section is like the only area that hasn't yet been improved, as far as I can tell anyway. Things that I'd really like to see from a future Helix, I think all of us might be thinking, yeah, more power would be great, as well as for me as well, like something like the HX Stomp, but with the full power of the Helix, to me would be pretty revolutionary, right? Because in a way, this is kind of pretty big for certain gigs, whereas the HX Stomp is like the perfect size for pretty much anything. It's like, well, that's tiny and I can take that anywhere. So the HX Stomp is like the ideal form factor for me in some ways, or the HX Stomp XL if it's gigging. But to have all of that processing power in there from the full thing might be a really good addition. The thing I'd really like is some better kind of looping capability. So it's fair to say that a looper in here, I think at this point has been sort of done better by other folks. So Headrush, for example, I think have a really, really great looper. Where you can sort of repeat a section or you can peel back layers. I think that's really powerful stuff. It'd be nice to see something like that in a future Helix, where the looper is a little bit potentially more up to date, and MIDI syncable might be a great thing as well. I think there are people out there that I've seen in the comments before saying, can we get some MIDI syncing for some of this stuff? I think that'd be a great idea. I've seen people as well say, can we get an LFO to be able to change parameters kind of automatically or with an LFO, as well as something like a sequencer. I think that'd be really powerful from the Fractal world. But what I'm finding is, even with what we've got in here, like today I was doing that sort of pitch echoey stuff, there's lots, I think, of untapped potential in the Helix. Like, not many people use the 3-note chord generators to much effect. Like, that's an area that's sort of untapped, and I think not too many people that I see use that harmony delay a whole bunch. For me, I have not really delved into the DSP kind of infinite spillover thing where you can switch between presets with total like freedom, and that's pretty revolutionary in a fairly serious way. Yes, you basically turn it into like an HX Stomp's amount of processing power, but you can switch with tails between all of the presets. So you could have, you know, totally different amps, totally different reverbs, totally different delays, and you'd still maintain tails. Like, that's quite a big thing. I think people are still really looking for a mobile app of some form. I think some people might like a touchscreen. I don't know if I would or not, to be honest. I've seen something with a screen that looks a lot like a HELIX, which had a touchscreen. I didn't necessarily love it. Something a little bit shrunk down I think might be cool. This size, maybe, if that's possible. You know, I think this, in today's modeling world, looks a little bit bigger than some, but I do really like the Stribble scripts and all of that stuff. I think still, as a form factor, this is one of my favorite looking modelers as well. It's like quite neat, quite tidy, quite futuristic. And as well, don't forget, this was designed quite a while ago now, and it kind of has still held up, in my opinion. The capacitive touching and all that stuff is really neat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you have any idea about what's next for HELIX? Is there going to be a cab update? Are we going to see some more new amps and stuff? Would you want to see a blues driver in there? Are you fed up with your HELIX as it is, or are you still finding new stuff? Would you like some more Marshalls? I think that might be an area that some people would be interested in. Maybe even some sort of profiling capability. Whether they are at all interested in that or not, I'm not sure. There's still loads of potential, and this was kind of my thinking on some of this stuff about a year ago. Like, when you buy a modeler today, yes, there is the potential for it to be better in the future and for it to continue to improve, but I think for today's user, you should probably buy based on what's possible now, rather than promises of what a company might be able to do. And in that case, you know, you look at what Fractal offer, you look at what the HELIX offers, or the Kemper, and you say, right, well, this can do all of these things right now. Is that going to meet my needs, yes or no? I don't think you can be too confident about things always getting better or things always continuing to get improvements, but buy based on what the thing can do now, and you shouldn't be too disappointed, probably. Oh, I was using the DarkMatchGig preset, which you can grab in the description if you want. And before that, I was using the little Harpy HELIX one, which has a few more delays.